We spend most of our time in the workplace. So if any environment has more influence on us than any other, it is your work environment. But even though you might very easily identify the effects that your work environment has on your physical health, if you work in a very hot room that causes you headaches, I'm sure it won't be difficult for you to recognize that. But do you have any idea whether there are aspects of your work environment that are affecting your mental health? Do you even know the state of your mental health? Well, it's a topic worth exploring, especially in a month like this. So, as part of our mental health awareness campaign, we want to focus on mental health in the workplace. Our guests are Dr. Isaac Newton Arthur and Eric Howusu-Kumi. Once again, thank you both for making the time.
Thank you for thanking us.
Yeah. All right. So, look, maybe I'll start from this. When we talk about mental health in the workplace, is it different from mental health in any other place of a person's life? Dr. Arthur.
So, probably let me simply define mental health. Mental health is defined on 3 levels: how you think, feel, and behave. So thinking, feeling, and behavior. So if you have any thinking or feelings or behavior that is affecting your life negatively, right, probably it's causing some distress, or dysfunction. What it means is that you're not able to function well. You wake up in the morning, you're all over the place, you don't feel like stepping out, you don't feel like bathing, you come to work and it's all over the place. Then again too, is it causing damage to everything around you? So your relationships are affected, your work, your academics. There's something wrong because of how you're thinking or feeling or behaving. Then again to deviation from social norms. So what it means is that how we think, feel, and behave usually fits a certain social norms. So in Joy News, Joy FM, there are standards. There's a way that we behave when we come to work. But if someone deviates, the question is why? The why may be under mental health. Right? So mental health goes beyond respectfully someone lying on the streets. So any thinking or feelings or behavior that is affecting your life, it means likely mentally you are not healthy. Right? And usually there are 6 core areas that is likely to be affected when you're mentally not healthy. Right? So your ability to cope and adjust to life situations. So you realize you're struggling to cope. Sorry.
That's okay. Shall we get Doc some water?
On a day-to-day, because we all go through stuff and we need to cope and adjust. So anybody who struggles to cope and adjust, it's likely that their mental well-being is affected. 2, if you are mentally healthy, you're able to, maybe before I go to the 2, so physically we can measure your well-being. You go to the hospital, they check your BP, pulse, and all those things. Then they say you are physically healthy. Mental health too, there are areas we look at. We look at your functioning on various levels, and those areas is usually impacted negatively when you have some mental health issues. You may not even have a disease, mental illness, but you may have a mental health issue. Some difficulty with your mental well-being. It doesn't mean that you have a diagnosed mental disorder, which follows a certain criteria, right? So the first area that is significantly affected, that is a measure of the quality of mental well-being, is ability to cope and adjust. Then again, to your ability to form and maintain meaningful relationships. So all relationships dynamics is under mental health. So if you're mentally healthy, you realize that generally you're able to relate with people better, you're able to resolve conflicts easily, you're able to form various associations and be functional with relationships. And one of the critical areas that is affected, you realize that generally everybody become irritable, having conflicts here and there. It's a sign that there's a problem. Then again, to identity, your ability to see yourself in a positive way. If you are mentally healthy, you're able to appreciate your internal and external qualities without having some negative perception about yourself. So identity issues, and now social media has made it worse. And some research will tell you that majority of the people who are addicted to social media, they use social media to cope with depression. So people's perception about themselves, and there are people who are doing all kinds of things on social media to feel good about themselves. The likes and all those things is what makes them feel that they are doing something with their lives. Then again, to your ability to pursue your goals in life, pursue purpose, right? And so if you are mentally healthy, you should be able to, dream and achieve those dreams. So those who are struggling, and that is why career-related issues and all those things, purpose, meaning, and all those things is even under mental health. Then again, you're able to.
Clear, you're talking about the ability to pursue these goals, not to achieve them, right?
No, so to dream about it, to even strategize to achieve it, and to achieve it. Because if you are mentally healthy, when you wake up, you have a dream, you are working it out, you're trying to do it. Well,
so
almost.
You're able to start something and complete it.
Right.
Yes.
And at a point when you realize this is not something you can complete, you should be able to reevaluate and then find other strategies to get it done.
Okay.
And that is a function of your mental, capacity, ability to do that. And then again, you should be able to live independently, right? If we compare it with your age group, we expect some level of independence for kids, for adolescents, for young adults, for adults, for elderly. So if you realize that you don't own your own thoughts, you are not able to wrap your head around responsibilities yourself, you're struggling to be independent on all levels. Because we have the capacity to be independent, to think about things, to be able to say that at a certain level, we expect some level of independence. And almost every mental health issue affects that. Then again, finally, your presence in any social space is positive when you are mentally healthy. So your ability to contribute meaningfully to society. So you go to work environment, there are people who are destructive. They are the cause of the problems. Extending it to Ghana, right? The problems we have. The question is why? Why are people being destructive? Why are they not being socially positive in terms of their influence on society? But if you are mentally healthy, you always want to do things to improve on your environment. If it's home, at work, the country. It's a function of a good mental well-being. If you see someone who is very, very destructive, they don't care, they are messing everything up and stuff, it's a sign that mentally they are not doing so well. So all these areas.
So when people suggest that in Ghana we don't like to see people do well, we don't like to do the right thing, they are actually describing what might be a symptom of poor mental health.
Yes. So I'm happy you use a poor mental health, not an illness.
Mental illness.
Yeah. Interesting. You've given me 6 of these pillars, by the way, not 7. So we have coping and adjusting. We have the ability to form and maintain meaningful relationships. We have identity, so being able to see yourself in a positive way. We have purpose and goals, the ability to pursue them, to start and complete things. We have the ability to live independently and the ability to contribute meaningfully to society. Are we missing one?
No, it's fine. I said 6. So
you said 6. Oh,
yes.
and yeah, awesome. Okay, good. So this is a very comprehensive description of what a mentally healthy person should be able to do. Okay, let's bring this now into the workplace. Are there things in the workplace that affect an average person's ability to effectively do these 6 things?
Thank you very much. So, like my colleague said, when we talk about mental health, let's be clear, we're not talking about mental illness.
Yeah.
So, just like somebody is healthy and somebody is sick. So, the opposite of mental health is mental illness, but the illness is the far opposite. But so many things can happen between mental health and mental illness.
So it's a scale.
It's a scale. So it's a continuum. So there are people who are healthy, okay, physically, everything is fine with them, but like he said, they are not able to cope with difficulties that people expect them to be able to cope with. So they have mental health issues. They don't have any diagnosis of a mental health like a depression and anxiety or maybe some post-traumatic. Then there are those people who have been diagnosed with a condition, but because they are taking their medication, they are doing all the things that they need to do to come back and follow their dreams, be purposeful in life, go to work, function. They have mental health. So we should be clear about the distinction. And so the fact that you are diagnosed doesn't mean you can't have mental health. You just have to make sure you are going for treatment and doing the things that you need to do. Then when we come to the workplace, okay, so many factors can influence our mental health at work. For instance, you have a difficult boss, very difficult, and he wants only his ideas to happen. But like he said, we are human beings. Every human being is independent. We have capacity to generate thoughts, ideas, and then pursue them. And so if anytime I generate an idea and then my boss throws it away into the trash, and to the extent that some bosses can insult you, use abusive words, and then sometimes when you are a female, the chance that you will not be regarded when you even want to contribute at work. Okay, there are instances where somebody can tell a female subordinate that, but you belong to the kitchen. They can even ask, have you finished giving birth before you want to contribute these ideas? This can also affect the mental health quality of people at the workplace. Then there are some instances where somebody with a diagnosis, okay, is stigmatized at the workplace. So, for instance, somebody displays some psychotic behavior. He behaves funny, in quotes, or abnormally. Everybody at the workplace or joy from sees the person. So the person is taken for treatment. He comes back and everybody begins to react, respond, and then do things differently with that person. That will affect the person's mental health. So even though the person is on very good medication to make him active and purposeful, I know the guy, I know what he does. I bring something, then the moment I come around, everybody is trying to withdraw. People don't want to engage me. I will know, because I know the people I'm dealing with. And when they change towards me, it will affect me. So we should be mindful that when people get treated, mental illness are treatable like any other physical illness. And so when you know anybody with any mental health condition and is going through treatment, what we need is to support these people. Because one, we know it is discriminatory. We know it is negatively labeled. And so the person himself going through this difficulty is having difficulties trying to communicate and then engage. And so any sign of lack of support, any sign of discriminatory behavior would impact negatively this person's mental health.
Yeah, so let me just add to what my colleague talked about. Also responsibilities and expectations at work. So what you expected to do and the responsibilities. Sometimes we have an unhealthy expectations of our staff, and that creates a lot of problems for them, because we are limited in what we can do at a time. And regardless of how we want to push individuals to perform, we all have our own limits, and it's even individualized. There are some people, based on even their childhood growth and experiences, they can actually withstand a lot of stress and pressure. Others can't, so some responsibilities may be a headache for one staff and not necessarily be a headache for another staff. And that is why even in dealing with staff, you need to be individualized in your approach to every staff. You can't say, we are all we are all doing the same things. Why are you complaining? We're all different. So responsibilities. Then again, I look at the relationships at work. So if, for example, you have very, very good relationships at work, that alone becomes a stress reliever. You come to work and you're excited coming because you're going to have people you care about who you have a very good relationship with at work. So in your office, if everybody around, the relationship is not too good, it affects everything else. That in itself becomes stressful. Then again, conditions of service. What management puts in place to help the workers deal with the issues that come up. And that also may include the settings and the aesthetics. We downplay aesthetics and the settings, and it has a way. There are some places probably, I'm sure all of us have gone to several places. Joy FM News have their own setup. Right? You may go to another place, the setup may not be as nice. And imagine going to a certain work environment where the door flings open whilst before you step in. You go, there are nice painting and colors, the stuffy chairs, like everything. The offices are very, very nice. They even have a small lounge where you can go sit when you're tired. They have a small kitchenette. All those things, even the painting and arrangement in your office, and how things are done. And that is why you sleep better when you go sleep in a hotel, and those places, because everything is arranged very nicely. So the aesthetics, the arrangements, and everything that has to, that is at the workplace, significantly affects a person's mental well-being. And usually we don't look at that. Even the flowers and all the paintings, has a way of helping. Then again to the, what do you call it? Whether they are stress relievers.
But before you go to the stress relievers, I'm interested in the settings and aesthetics. You've talked about how they could even impact someone's mental health and how they make people relax. How? I mean, somebody would say, you are here to come and work. You have, your desk, you have your computer. What other paintings do you need in order to perform very well?
Let me quickly come in. Let's take agriculture as an example. If there are tractors and all the implements that are needed to do good agriculture, would you love to go into agriculture?
Please go ahead and answer.
And when you compare to the old-fashioned way of cutlass and hoe, how many of us will be willing to go there? So that alone gives you some relief. You're not going to struggle. The fact that you have evidence that you're not going to struggle is enough mental health to focus and do your work.
Okay.
Let's look at a situation. I remember some time ago in Konfanochi, doctors were complaining of water not flowing. My brother, you can imagine, he's thinking about his personal health, going to do something and I can't even wash my hand. So how do I get home? You get it. Or in an office where, for instance, I remember a guy whose work, he virtually stands to work because he has complained severally about his chair, that the chair gives him severe back pain. And he has realized that there are some chairs that can make him sit comfortably and work without complaining, without standing. Because everybody comes to the office and, hey, what kind of human being? You have to stand before you work. Eventually, you have to adjust his desk so that his desk gets up like that one, so that he could stand and work. These things are certain. They are basic things that could be adjusted to make this guy function. And if this is done, he can work better, his productivity will be increased, and he will be happy. Remember that when somebody is happy, he can infect you with his happiness because he's smiling, he's saying nice things to you, he's responding nicely even if you are negative towards them. So we should be mindful of that. Then also I want to talk about female. When a woman is pregnant, for instance, at the work environment, and like Doc said, we are not empathetic. If we are all supportive of mental health, quickly you should know that this lady has additional burden because of the pregnancy. Some people can function excellently whilst pregnant. Others go through difficulties. And so as bosses and colleagues, we should be able to support them to function at the workplace. But you hear comments like, we are all being paid in the same way. So why should I even support you? Why should I help you to do your own work? So these factors have to be considered whilst we try to make people achieve the highest level of mental health at the workplace.
Maybe you've gone, as for pregnancy, you've even gone too far. Imagine someone having menstrual cramps and he's at the reception. How can you laugh? You can't smile at stuff. And those things, so some of those aesthetics and those things, they are things that improves your mental well-being so that you can function. There are two terms sometimes we use, absenteeism and presenteeism. Absenteeism is he didn't show up at work. Presenteeism is you came but you are not effective. You see, you are around but you are not around. You are not able to. And some of these things that we've all those things, and the brain is so we interact with our environment. Everything we see, sometimes even a smile, lights you up. You go to a certain lounge or something and you see something, and that alone, the comfort of that environment has a way of boosting your mental well-being, so that you can function.
Yeah, so this reminds me of my office. I have one of the nicest office in the Trust Hospital. And anybody who walks in was like, wow, is that how the psychologist office look? Oh, I'm better. The environment alone makes the person feel comfortable. We shouldn't forget that when people go to the health environment, they are prejudicing certain things.
Yeah.
And so when they find something different from the original or the commonly known office of the doctor, they feel relief. And this is the reality of mental health. We don't need to put drugs and all those things. People are scared of sharp objects and all of that. Then you also put those things there. For instance, my office, I don't keep BP machines because people come with health anxiety. And then when they see the BP machine, their BPs even go up. And so we have to create an environment that will help people working in this environment feel safe, feel welcomed, and ready to work.
These are very important principles you have laid down for our conversation. If you just joined us, we're talking to Dr. Isaac Newton Arthur, very busy man, senior medical officer and clinical psychologist, acting director of University of Professional Studies Medical Directorate, PRO of the Ghana Psychological Association, and a lecturer at the Family Health Medical University. We also have with us Eric Howusu-Kumi, another busy man, senior clinical psychologist at Trust Hospital, the CEO of Psych Connect Ghana Limited, and the co-founder and editor-in-chief of Happiness Digest. Can't think of two better qualified people to help us understand workplace mental health. Let's get it back into the conversation. Dr. Isaac Newton Arthur and Eric Howusu-Kumi are our guests, talking about mental health in the workplace. All right, stress. Maybe we'll start again with some definitions. Yeah, what is stress?
Okay, so stress is a response to an internal or external demand. So it can be an internal demand or external demand. So the external demands are all the things we see, the responsibilities, the traffic, the family issues, work problems, all those things, the external stresses. Internal stresses may also be how you evaluate things. So if you have a very, very negative way of approaching things, you actually feel more stressed. Then again, to pessimism. When you're a pessimist, that situation is even stressful. Then again, bitterness, unforgiveness, those things are internal stresses. So any response to a demand, the term response is important because two people may go through the same stressful event. The differences in their level of stress is based on how they are responding.
Right.
And this response is external and internal response. Right? External response are the things that we do when there's a stressor. Internally too, the body is responding by marshalling all its internal coping mechanisms to deal with the stressor. Right? And the system primarily responsible is the nervous system, right? And also the endocrine system. The two of them, they are systems in the body, and those, they take the lead. All other body systems follow. Right? So the body's internal mechanism, it marshals its internal mechanism to be able to deal with the stressor or to move away from the stressor, because the body cannot coexist with stress. See, stress disrupts all the internal mechanisms of the body. So whilst you feel stressed externally, know that internally too, there are changes going on there. So the sympathetic nervous system in the body is the one that initiates all this. And when that system in the body is activated, the goal is to bring the body to a state of equilibrium,
right,
where the internal organs and all that can function well. So it actually, is activated, and it releases some chemicals we call the stress hormones or stress chemicals. So we have the cortisol, we have the what you call adrenaline, norepinephrine, are released. And when they are released, they cause changes in the body. Those changes are responsible for how you feel when you are stressed. So cortisol affects sugar control. It affects immunity, right, and all that. Adrenaline, norepinephrine, and those things, they affect your BP, your pulse, your respiration, and all that. So anybody who is stressed, you realize that you have all these physical changes going on. You may have some headache, non-specific body aches, palpitations, abdominal pain. You may even have some gastrointestinal problems. You may feel nauseous, you're vomiting or running or peeing too much. You may feel tense, muscle tension, and all those things. It's because the internal mechanisms of the body has been activated. And those changes, if it continues for a long time, then the health problems, hypertension, diabetes, cancers, bone problems, infertility, loss of libido, and all those depression, anxiety, and all those things come in. And that is very, very, very serious. Stress is a killer. So those who think, life is a whatever, I need to hazard those things, it's okay. This morning I was discussing with someone that you see only about 4% of the Ghana population crosses 70. Yes, life expectancy is around 64.
Yes.
63 for men, around 64.5 or so for women. And stress is a killer, right? But we have these normal stresses we face every time. We call the eustress, right? Day to day, minor things, and you even need that to boost energy, right? To be able to perform. Then we have the acute stress. That has to do with stress that happens over a very short time. So maybe 3 days there's a project, you are done, it's gone, right? Then we have the episodic stress that comes in episodes. So this week there's a stress, maybe 3 days it goes away. The next 2 weeks there's stress, it goes away, like that episodic stress. Then the more dangerous one is the chronic stress, where you are consistently stressed over about 3-6 months, stressed. That is what is more dangerous, because all these internal changes are happening consistently, and that is where all the problems come.
The first one you said was what? I heard the episodic and the chronic.
Acute.
Over
a very short time.
Short period.
Yeah.
Then the chronic is the one that does the damage, because you are persistently stressed, and it comes to a point where your coping strategies fail. And that is where burnout and stuff begins. You see, we hear about burnout and all those phase of exhaustion. Where your coping strategies are failing, they are no longer effective, and the body is all over the place.
So, is it always noticeable? Can I always tell when I'm stressed?
Yes. So, like he said, for the acute ones, they happen once a while, like an accident or the loss of a loved one, or maybe what happened in circles some few years ago, or when you hear bad news. They happen once in a while, they are not regular. But when you're stressed, like you are in an abusive relationship, every day there is fight. Every day there is fight. Anytime you get home, there is fight. And you work in an environment where there is constant pressure. Every day, that every day you are going to be in 2050 meetings. You are here, you are there, you are receiving calls here. It's constant. It's not changing. So it's not like maybe you work in an environment where when it's getting to the end of the month, maybe a week to the end, then you need to produce reports. So that one ends and the body goes back to normal for another 3 weeks. Then these are the episodic ones.
Yeah.
But you in your office every day, home every day. Okay, there are some chronic stress that you can't do anything or you can't do much about, like childcare. Your children are always screaming and you can't do anything. But it will get to a time that they will fall in place. They will understand certain things, they will understand rules, and then they will change and you have some peace of mind. Now, when these things are going on, you will know that things are not okay. You will know you are tensed when you are going home to meet this stressful marriage. When you are going to the office, you are going to meet this environment.
And sometimes you don't even want to go home. You do all the work around. We think you are hardworking, but you don't want to go home.
Yes, you are using the work as a cover up. I met a man who worked in a very reputable organization, and it was only when he came on retirement that he realized he'd been depressed all his lifetime.
Wow. That's what made me ask, that is it possible for some people to just continue functioning without realizing
human beings
that
can
they are
cover
under
up?
stress?
We are very smart people. We can cover up. We can use things to cover up. So like I said, I come to work and every week I want to do it. So everybody's praising me. Charlie, this guy dear, yeah, dear, papa. It's because I don't want to go home. And definitely I'll go on retirement. So the moment you go on retirement, then you realize that the coping strategy you've been using all this while has been taken away from you. That is where you begin to have the constant headaches. Your BPs are constantly going up. Your sugars are. Then the things that you have done, it is now ready for you to use. Now, in the US, they have stress leave that you can apply for, because they have recognized the dangers of stress long ago. So people can go in and ask for stress leave, and you have to give it to them.
And that's outside your normal annual leave?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I'm just picturing a typical Ghanaian going to his boss, I need stress leave.
I need some time off. We should be able to ask that. If the system is supportive, we should be able to work out something, because it is not normal for somebody to just walk to you and ask for, boss, I need some days off. It means that that person has used all available strategies to deal with that difficulty, and they are not working.
I had a conversation before we had this show. I talked to some friends and colleagues, and somebody said to me that, look, stress is a rich people's problem. If you are a hustler, if you are, when you see them on the streets, a woman with a baby on her back, pregnant, carrying pure water, selling it, the sun burning her from morning till evening, she's running around chasing cars for her money, she's not complaining of stress. But you are sitting in an air-conditioned room, your boss comes to tell you that your report was poorly done, and then you burst into tears. That it's people who have the means, who can afford stress.
So there's a component of stress that is perceived mental. It's a process. So what I think is very important in the stress issue. So a young girl went off completely. She lost her memory just because they went to their home country. The father is a diplomat here, so they went to their home country for vacation. And then when they were about to leave, just the day they were about to leave, they couldn't find her passport. And so they have to leave her, because the father has to come. They've been called to come. Yeah. They have to leave her back there so that they work on a new passport for her. And by the time the lady came to Ghana, 17-year-old, she's blank. She can't remember the mother, the father, the school, nothing.
Hey.
So what I would think is not stressful will be different from what Doc would think is stressful to him. And so there's not a specific thing like this one there, it will break me down, and this one will not break me down. Like we said, the system, there's something going on within. This girl was processing a lot of things. I don't know what, she doesn't want to be there. You get it? And then all of a sudden, she's going to be left there alone with these people that she didn't grow up with. She's thinking about the connection. She was thinking about the food she will eat, the swimming pool at her home in Ghana, and so many things goes on in some people's mind when they are going through stress, and that can blank them off completely. That is what causes the infertility and then the even impotence. Some people go off, their manhood will not function. You will see him nice like this and everything is, but things are happening in their minds that is releasing so much level of cortisol, so much level of adrenaline, and the body needs certain amount of these hormones to function. When they are too much, they become standstill.
Yeah. But is there evidence then, I mean, from all of this, that perhaps people who have poorer economic situations cope better with stress than those who live in comfort?
Yeah, well, all mental illnesses, you find them more in a low social economic environments.
Oh, rather?
Yes, but you see, if someone has money, they are likely to go and report and seek help. If you don't, the fact that you don't report does not mean it's not there. You know, the fact that even the term hustle is stress. You may not acknowledge that you're stressed. And one day you're there and something happens to you and you're gone. You see, and sometimes we underestimate or downplay the importance of these things on our lives, right? Because of our expectations and what we want to achieve, you know. And so even the term hustle is stress. The fact that you don't acknowledge that this is a stressful state does not mean that it is not there. And the body is responsible. As for the internal mechanisms, whether you acknowledge it or you don't acknowledge, it's happening.
It's happening. Yeah. You can refuse to scream at someone because you are stressed. You can manage that. But for your heart to beat, to pump more blood,
your body is responding.
breathing rate to increase. Those things will happen whether you are. See, the body has to respond to the stress, whether it is real or imagined.
The response must happen.
It must happen.
Yeah.
But if you have been trained in ways of managing stress, you can instantly activate your internal stress management system, like the breathing exercises, or if you have been taught the progressive muscle relaxation, you just activate it, and that will counter what the system is doing. So someone who doesn't have these skills, it will just be going on.
And at some point, we all have our breaking point. So, for example, a soldier may go to all kinds of training, be very, very, but they come back with PTSD and those things. Because everybody has their breaking point. And from childhood, we all develop various coping strategies to deal with various stresses. Yeah. If your coping strategies are effective, you may not be overwhelmed as someone whose coping strategies. So we're all different. We can't put someone that you are sitting in air conditioning, someone is why are you complaining? No, we're all different. Total it's like we are even our personality types. We are different. How we respond. There are some personalities that may be able to cope better with stressful situations than others. Yeah. The personality type that internalizes issues, analyzes problems, they are likely to be more stressed than the go-free kind of personality types where they smile at everything and all. There are some people, they come to work
and insult them and then they are smiling.
They are just smiling at you.
Those people too, apparently, one day when they hit their breaking
point, everybody has their breaking
effect
point.
Can be worse.
Yeah. So we are totally different.
Let's talk about gender and stress. Does one gender suffer stress more than the other? And can one gender cope better with stress than the other? And when I say Jamia, I only know two genders, male and female.
Well, it's different, and men and women are different. And we're different in structure and function, right? Even the brain, there are differences with men and women. The right side of the brain, that is more for relationships, multitasking and all those things. It's more active in women than men. The left side is more for analytical things. Men are more calculating in their whatever. So even when men are more driven towards problem solving than women. And so that can create some kind of difference. A man may dismiss things easily. A woman is likely to be more emotional about things. So we all have various ways of handling our stresses. But when it comes to responsibility, it's cultural. Depending on where you are and how you were brought up and all those things, it can influence. And even your home. There are some homes that responsibilities are shared. Others, I think it's more cultural.
Is there any clinical evidence of the reasons why men seem to be dying earlier than women? Is there any connection to stress?
One major one is cultural. Men are made to believe they are strong, so they should even talk about their feelings. For instance, a man can be in an abusive relationship, but he can't talk about it because the guys will laugh at him, and so he keeps it like that and goes through, and then he's gone. Yeah. So it is not a physical thing. We have brought these things onto ourselves. I did a presentation, and the guys, the institution did well. It was a men, I think November, so they did mental health for men, and I told them men too can cry. If you feel like crying to release the emotion, the pressure within you, do it. Don't look at people thinking that, hey, this guy too is crying, and then they will laugh at you. Go, and then they will still laugh at you. So it's better to express how you feel as a man, and don't wait until you are going before you want to talk about the problems you are going through.
So that was a good example the IGP set for us during those hearings then. But I want to say that this has to only be the beginning of the conversation. We are going to have to come back together again and talk more about coping mechanisms, how to deal with stress in the workplace. So for this first half of our discussion, I thank you both very much.